Today is the last day of April. I cannot believe it is already May. And if you are sheltered, if you have had food to eat this month, if you are breathing today, it's all because of the hand of God over your life. So let's be sure to give thanks to God for his providence, for his protection over us this month. Today, I wanted to encourage you from portions of our reading over the past few days. We read the book of Ruth, and it's just such a beautiful story. You see that in a situation marked by suffering, Naomi, she loses her husband after going over there to Moab due to famine. And then 10 years later, she loses her two sons. And, really for an older woman like Naomi, this is the worst possible scenario. She has no future, no hope. And that's why she returns back to her homeland. But we see that God, in his sovereignty, in the beauty of the story that he's writing, he uses Naomi and her daughter-in-law Ruth to restore her future in terms of having a son. And through Naomi and through Ruth and Boaz, the kinsman redeemer, we see that Naomi has a son again, if you will. And she becomes the matriarch of King David. She is in the lineage of King Jesus himself. It's such a beautiful story, but there's a lot of hardship in it. There's a lot of suffering in it. So much that she says, don't even call me Naomi anymore. As she enters back to her hometown, she says, call me Mara, for the Lord has dealt bitterly with me. We also see in 1 Samuel today the cry of Hannah. The Lord has closed her womb. It's not anything that she did. And she is just on the receiving end of a lot of criticism and torment from her husband's other wife, who doesn't have a problem having children. And it's just such a sad story. Christine and I can really relate to just that feeling, having struggled to have a child for a while as well. But we see that the Lord in that uses it to raise up a son, Samuel, who is dedicated by Hannah to the service of the Lord. He gives Hannah a child that only he could. And he raises himself up to the service of the household of God. And we see that Samuel becomes one of the greatest prophets of Israel. He anoints two kings. He is used by the Lord to discover and to anoint King David. Of course, Samuel's sons didn't end up doing so great. But nonetheless, Samuel is an instrument of God. He's used by God for his elaborate purposes and his elaborate story. And so I just wanted to point out those two books to you today. I hope you have a chance to look at those passages. If you haven't, we see that in the midst of great suffering and hardship and waiting on the Lord, these two women are really instrumental in carrying out the purposes of God. And for us, that is really hopeful, because we are going through continued periods of waiting and challenge and hardship. And I know I've talked to a lot of folks this week who have been going through tough stuff, myself included and Christine included. And we're just like being refined right now. And I just really believe that the Lord is at work in this season. And I want to encourage you to ask yourself, are you authoring your own story right now? Are you authoring your own story? And if so, you're going to be disappointed because you're not letting the all-wise and knowing God author your story. So I would just encourage you to be aware of the story that God is writing right now. It's not about us. It's all about Jesus and what God is doing through the work of Jesus to redeem this world. But we get to be small, little, minuscule players in that story. And so I just want to encourage you to let God be in control of writing this story. And lastly, I wanted to throw out a verse for you that I shared yesterday with our church comes from Proverbs 24, verse 10. And in it, it says, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." And I know that sounds kind of like a rebuke, um, but it's really a challenge and an encouragement to you. We can't have strength outside of God. And so, in the midst of this adversity and calamity and trial, I encourage you, and I'm encouraging myself right now, just to keep relying on the Lord to supply you with the strength and the faith and the perseverance that you need to stay focused on Him, to stay faithful in loving Him, loving others. And I pray that He will arm you and equip you with everything that you need to make it through each day. His mercies are new every morning. He gives us just enough mercy to get through each day. So praise the Lord for that. And again, I encourage you to look back on all that He has done for you this month, probably the hardest month of your life. But look back on it and look at what God is doing right now. He is doing something amazing, and I hope you see that. And I just want to encourage you with that word. So God bless you, and have a great rest of the week and weekend. And I pray that you will have an amazing month of May. God bless.